We have a problem. 5 weeks to get fit for 500 kilometers in Sri Lanka.
It's going to be a tough one.
And we need to keep things really, really simple. Welcome to our YouTube producer. This is Hannah Reynolds. Hannah, can you tell everyone a bit about yourself? I know you've been on the podcast before, but let's learn about who you are.
So I've worked in the cycling industry for give or take 20 plus years. I used to be the fitness editor at Cycling Weekly.
Yep.
I'm a freelance cycling writer. I've written a few books about cycling. I do some cycle guiding. I'm doing a PhD in e-mountain bike technology for people in the third age. On top of that, I'm a mum. I've got a 6-year-old boy, and I'm now the co-owner of a bar as well. So
lifestyle's definitely changed.
Lifestyle has changed immensely.
And where did this 500 kilometer ride in Sri Lanka come from?
It was a fantastic opportunity, and when someone gives you a fantastic opportunity, you don't say no, you say yes, of course I'd love to go to Sri Lanka and ride my bike. And then once you've signed up and got involved, then you start looking at the reality of what it's going to take to do it.
Okay, so we've got 5 weeks to the start line. It's not a lot of time. There's definitely been some considerable lifestyle changes recently, so we're looking for a low risk strategy to make sure you're at that start line as ready as you possibly can be. You've got a good solid base, but we don't know where we are right now. So should we go and find out?
Yeah, let's do that.
We are short on time and we need to try and learn as much about Hannah as we can in the least amount of time possible. So we're going to do a slightly modified test. We're going to do most of a graded exercise test to get as close as we can to her VO2 max. Then we're going to take a small rest, and then we're going to go into a modified version of the Moxy 515 to see how our muscle oxygen is responding. Now, we should have done enough work in the VO2 test to get pretty close to a good accurate result from that. So it does mean that Hannah's going to be on the turbo trainer for a little bit longer, but won't necessarily be at the maximum intensity. The equipment that we're going to be using for this, first of all, is a Polar H10 heart rate monitor. The reason for this is it's dual band, so I can record the heart rate on 2 different things. We're also going to be using core body temperature as well. I really want to see how Hannah's responding to heat, and we're going to be using 2 Moxys. We're going to be using one on the leg and one on a non-working muscle, which is probably going to be the delt or somewhere on the arm. And of course, we are going to be using the VO2 Master to do the gas analysis as well. Let's get all this set up. Pretty much all centered up. Turbo trainer calibrated, 2 muscle oxygen sensors, heart rate monitor, and your core body temperature. The last piece of this is actually the VO2 mask. This is the uncomfortable bit, but you've worn one before, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So what I want you to do is put this up against your mouth, and I'm going to put this round, and then we'll just come around. And it's really important that you get a really good, comfortable seal.
Yeah.
Happy?
Okay. I think so.
Okay, quick run through of the data that you're going to be looking at. First of all, this is your countdown here. This is counting down to the next step. And we've got the warm up, the target power of 75, and this is your current power. Remember, the turbo trainer's controlling that. All you have to do is maintain a steady cadence. This graph here is going to be tracing out your power and where the steps are as well. And then this down here is going to be drawing 2 graphs, one of your VO2, currently sitting at 22 milligrams per kilogram. And then we've got your fraction of expired oxygen. So this is taking the calibrated oxygen in the air right now, which is about 21%. And this is what you're now breathing out. And we're using that difference to calculate some of this. Then we've got your current heart rate and your current respiratory frequencies of how many breaths per minute you're doing. Any questions or anything so far? Feeling pretty comfortable?
Yeah.
Cool. So remember, after this 30 seconds, it's going to continue at 75 watts, but that's the first step of the test.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. This is the start of the test. So same wattage, you've got 2 minutes here, and then we start our ramp. Okay, 3 seconds to go, and the fun begins. 2, 1. Here's your first 30 watt jumps. Pretty meaty jump, I'm afraid. So this is around 2.5 watts per kilo, which is probably getting pretty close to Hannah's likely threshold. It's probably somewhere around this region. So expecting this to feel a little bit hard. She's probably starting to feel her legs hurt a little bit, and the respiratory system trying to catch up with the energy being required by her muscles. And about now, you can start seeing that respiratory frequency shooting up and the VO2 max is shooting up to try and respond to that demand from her muscles. Excellent, here you go, another 30 watt jump, get on top of it, here we go. Looking at this is very likely somewhere close to zone 4, maybe slightly above it. This is going to feel pretty intense. I can hear Hannah's breathing get higher and higher right now, and that heart rate is taking a fairly big jump. Looking good, looking healthy, well done. Starting to see the desaturation response really play out here. Getting close to the end. Come on, Hannah, you've got about 45 seconds to hold here. Come on. Definitely seeing all the physical signs that Hannah's finding this pretty tough right now. Come on, dig in. The next one is probably going to be the point of failure. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, Hannah. So come on, see if you can finish this one off. This is 5 seconds to go. Push, push, push. This is gonna feel like a mountain. Well done. Okay, just an easy spinning. Should have 40 watts on there now, so you can just easy spin when you want. Are you okay with the mask on?
Yeah.
So straight into it, we pretty much had that cool down. We're about 3 or 4 minutes. You feel pretty rested. Your heart rate's back down to 138, which is roughly where you were for your zone 2, which is an excellent recovery, by the way. It should feel a little bit tough, but nowhere near as tough at 165 watts. We'll be holding this for 5 minutes, 1 minute off, another 5 minutes, and then we take a big jump. So what's happening right now with that elevated heart rate and that elevated respiratory rate, Hannah's sucking in an awful lot of oxygen, and that's rapidly resaturating her muscles. After a while, her body will recognise that it doesn't need oxygen anymore and will start dropping the heart rate to respond to that. We're going straight back into 155 watts again. You okay?
Yep,
cool.
All good.
And 3, 2, 1, here we go. Another 5 minutes. We're going to keep it on the screen so we can see this climb and this desaturate. Remember, there'll always be like a little dip, so there'll be an initial response of trying to use the available oxygen in the muscle, and then it'll take a little while for your heart rate, respiratory rate to respond, and when it does, it'll slow this down. 15 to go, come on, push, 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 push. And 3, 2, 1, okay, stop it there, well done.
Thank you.
Nice one, well done. Nice easy pedalling, just chill. So, how was it?
It was hard. It doesn't matter how fit or unfit you are, that always feels hard because you're going to whatever your ability is.
Yep.
So it's always a tough session.
Yep.
So.
Do you remember any of your data from when you last did this?
Yeah, I think my VO2 max when I was kind of at peak fitness, which was probably like 10, 15 years ago, was maybe between 58 and 60 mils per kilogram.
Yep.
And those kind of powers were warm-up powers, and I'd be doing intervals at over 200. So, yeah, the numbers are a bit depressing, but it is what it is.
That was a long time ago.
Somewhere.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. We've learned what we've learned. I think we've got something really good to work on here. It's going to really help target your training.
Hello, I'm Vicky. I am one of the strength coaches here at MapDeck and Strength to Speed, and in the gym today we have got Hannah, who is going to be doing a big multi-day ride in about 5 weeks' time, and we're going to be looking at building some strength training into the next 5 weeks for her. Today we're going to run through a little bit of movement testing, see how she's moving, see what she can already do, and build from there. We're going to be using big movements like the squat. I want to look at her balance and stability through some single leg movements, and then just her general overall ability to move her body and use her upper body, because we're going to be riding off-road for 5 days, which is going to be tough on her. So let's get into it. Good. That was awesome. Now we're going to do that and hold there. Pause, pull your hips lower, press your elbows into your thighs, and your thighs into your elbows, and pull your hips lower and your chest up higher. Have a wriggle with your hips. Good, and now stand up. Well done, shake out your legs. Just a little step back. Take up a sec, find your squat stance. That looks good. Squeeze, squeeze, sit down. Good. And drive up. Nice! That's it. Lift this down, pull down. Nice! Good. Allow your body weight to stay centered. Alright, so that's your starting point. You will know, so if we use RPE, rate of perceived exertion, of how difficult that felt today, would you give it a number? I mean, 10 being like super max.
I just said like maybe a 5 or 6.
Perfect, okay. So we've got scope to add a bit more weight,
Yeah.
all right? If it is silver bar and everyone else is on one, like that's fine, you can jump in at that and it will just feel a bit heavier because it's 5 kilos more. But you could probably take your RPE up to a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
And still maintain the basic points that we've covered today, and that's for the first week. Thereafter, you'll feel way more confident and you can increase that each session as it goes. Squeeze the elbows towards your ribs. Nice. And we do that by simulating that. Push the first couple of weeks, we can go fairly moderate but high rep.
Yeah.
The reason being, you're going to get stronger anyway, but it also gives you optimal chance to practice the movement patterns and just get moving.
Yeah.
and then you will feel amazing. And then once we've sort of pushed past that, then we can get into a bit more nitty-gritty of like heavier to stimulate.
But get it right first.
Get it right first and then go heavier. Yeah, absolutely. And you might find that even just doing a class, you're like, oh yeah, it's all coming back to me, this is great. So you'll have like windows of reps, if that makes sense. So it'll be like between 5 and 8. You'll get massive benefit from lifting weights, but actually it's all the other exercises that are going to actually benefit you in the next 5 weeks. It's all those smaller things, unfortunately. But and that's also
it's the small things that count.
We are as well. Yeah, it's well done, Kate. That was cool. Nice.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So first of all, congratulations on a fantastic VO2 max. That fundamental base fitness is still very much there. That must make you feel really happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say that, you know, form is temporary and class is eternal, but that is going to come back to bite me.
yeah, absolutely. A little bit down on power. I think you were a little bit like, you know, the power output was a bit...
It was a bit sad. It was a bit sad to see my max power being something I'd have happily done like a 20-minute effort at 15 years ago.
The Moxie 515 test, the 5 minutes on, 1 minute off, 5 minutes off, that was that's probably what I think we learnt the most from. You really didn't desaturate very much at all. So you went straight up there into the high 80s, high 90s, and really didn't desaturate very much. So we'd call that a muscle oxidative capacity limitation. So the good news is that you've got a really good cardiovascular system. Fitness assessment's done and Hannah is looking really good. She's got a great solid base, but we just need to give everything a boost. And we need to keep things really, really simple. This is a keep it simple, almost handwritten notes pinned to a fridge that Hannah can just refer to. And we can keep very dynamic based on what she can fit around her really busy life. So the main goals for this is stay healthy. We do not have time for Hannah to get ill at all or any ineffective training to happen. 2, we're trying to increase speed at endurance pace. We're not looking for threshold efforts or beating Strava segments. We just need to make sure that Hannah can get through the stage in a comfortable time so she's not sat on her bike for hours and hours, which brings me to reducing the chance of pain. If there's anything that's going to completely kibosh your attempt at an endurance challenge is picking up some sort of injury that is going to cause pain and discomfort. So here's the thing that we're going to work on. Eating and drinking, very, very healthy lifestyle for the next 5 weeks, trying to cut out alcohol completely. And I really want her to start thinking about fueling her workouts to make sure we stay calorie neutral and nourishing her recovery. That's the headline I really want her to think about. So good, nourishing foods post-workout to make sure we have all those vitamins and minerals that the body needs. 2, get strong, trying to lift something heavy but within her skill range. We don't have the luxury of time to teach any new skills in the gym. So we need to work with what she got and get her moving and lifting some weight and gaining some resistance. And also trying to improve mobility. That all feeds back into that reducing pain. Finally, boosting metabolism, really good night's sleep, whatever she can possibly manage as a young mum, and lots of high intensity training. So small amount of times on the turbo trainer, long warm-ups, get that heart rate going, and then really intense, like 15 seconds on, 45 seconds off, building up to 20-40s. So only going to be doing that for about 10 to 15 minutes in sets of probably 6. We're going to give Hannah loads of guidelines of how she can do that on RPE as opposed to lots of power metrics. And of course, do what you can to ride. Right now we're in the middle of a storm. The weather is atrocious, so this is a case of just ride what you can and we'll work your training program around that. So let's have a look day to day. Everything we're going to do with Hannah centres around whatever she can do at the weekend. This is going to be her best chance of getting some really quality training in, but we just don't know what that's going to look like. Whether kids, family, running the bar, all sorts. So the ambition is to try and get out and ride at least 2 hours and a maximum of 4 hours. Remember, we don't want to bring up lots of fatigue, no panic training. This should be steady paced and really well fueled. Then on Monday, non-negotiable, this is going to be a pretty heavy day regardless. Ride to work, which takes her about an hour, plus our essential strength class down here with Amy, which is based around squats, which we've just seen that Hannah is really good at, and also having a coach by her side means that she can then push the weights a little bit. And then a ride home as well. So Monday's going to be a pretty heavy day, which could mean that the weekend is a pretty intense day. So Tuesday becomes pretty much a rest day. Hannah really enjoys following her yoga videos, and we're going to really encourage that and make sure it becomes part of her routine. Add into that some of the specific mobility work that Vic has taught her. Wednesday and Thursday are our turbo days. So this is a 20-minute long, really good, solid warm-up, followed by that HIIT training we just talked about. And on the Thursday, almost the same, depending on what happened at the weekend, but we're just going to extend it. So if you did 15-second intervals here, she might do 20 seconds on the Thursday. Again, keeping the whole thing to a maximum of an hour, including some strength training. So she's probably on the turbo trainer for 35, 40 minutes, absolute tops. Friday, mandatory rest. And the important thing is no catch up. If you miss a day, don't just push it on. This is your day, stick to it, consistency. And also always check in with how you're actually feeling before you get on that turbo trainer. Right, let's see what Hannah has to think about it. Cool, how does that sound so far?
No, it sounds good. I'm excited about it. Optimistic that once we start, my body's going to remember how to do these things that it used to do a lot of. So
one of the big questions is, how do you feel this fitting in with your current lifestyle?
My current lifestyle is interesting. It is, you know, we've opened a bar, which is not necessarily compatible with clean living. Yeah. So we've got a small bar called the Half and Half, which is in Sedbergh, but it's also being on my feet a bit more. I spent a lot of my working life sat in front of a laptop. So actually I found being up behind the bar, moving, lifting has actually helped me quite a lot already. So I don't think it's a complete detriment. As a busy parent who doesn't have a lot of time, then that's a manageable amount to go and sit in the garage on my own.
No need to faff around with Zwift or anything like that. Just get on with it. Put the music on and
do it.
And just get it done. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I think it's good to think now about fueling and to get in the habit of fueling. Because I haven't been training, I haven't really been thinking about nutrition in that way. I've got a healthy diet. I think my base level is pretty good. You know, lots of variety in my diet, but without training, I've not had any calorie demand, I've not had any need to kind of really think about recovery meals as such. So it's introducing those back in as a kind of lifestyle choice.
Sure, you eat meat. Right?
Yeah.
So good healthy meats is always a good place to start, but also green veg, which I think I'm pretty sure are part of your diet anyway. Yeah. So that's the important thing, is to make sure you have them at the right side of your training that you're doing. Vitamin C and hydration.
And that's definitely a weak point. And trying to avoid pulling off the pumps for my hydration of an evening.
Have you got any more questions that you want to go through, or how do you feel about this so far? What's the vibe?
It's great. I'm excited. I know it's going to be challenging. Not doing the workouts, the actual getting on and doing the workouts. It's finding the time and making that possible. And I think when I was fit before, I had the luxury of, you know, a job that supported me in my cycling, like you're supporting me in my cycling here, and limited commitments at home. So, you know, once upon a time doing, you know, even 25 hours of cycling in a week didn't feel like too much. Whereas now trying to find 6 hours is going to be difficult.
Yeah. I think so. It's those weekends I think are going to be quite important, which could be so
there's going to be some early mornings, I think.
So we're looking very much forward to seeing how you get on with that. So I hope you enjoyed this video so far. If you do, like and subscribe. We're definitely going to come back and revisit this, especially towards the end. We're definitely going to retest and see how much progress you've made and what gains you can actually make in 5 weeks, and I think we'll be quite surprised.
Yeah.
If you want to see that, please get down in the comments. If you've got any sort of advice for Hannah, or sort of nutrition stuff that really works for you, anything that you've had to do and hack your fitness in 5 weeks, get those tips down below. We're all ears. And look forward to hearing all about it.
Yeah,
thanks very much.
Time to crack on.